most definitely. And you've talked a lot about your experience in music, writing your first song, working with like a lot of the greats like W Fresh and like Mims and everyone else too. So you kind of see like that journey from like just writing your first song to like even with these new two things out right now. So you have your own official song out right now, Relax, with Trini, I think a soca artist as well too. And then also Be Mine, you worked that with Lex, and then I think another DJ or like producer. So what was like the creative process for those singles, and what inspired you to make them in that sense?
Be Mine was a very interesting process because working with someone else is always, it could be fun or it could be just not fun. Working with Lex is probably the most fun I have making music. That's why I like, she's my forever collaborator. Um, when we were part of the sorority, Lex and I just clicked. I mean, we all clicked. Obviously, that's how the group came about. We clicked, but Lex and I found this like extra interest in each other just because of the things that we like. Like we're both hip hop heads. We both study hip hop. We live and breathe it. Like we teach it. We take it further, right? So you can appreciate that in someone else. So that's how we kind of clicked and formed that bond. But with this particular record, Lex and I decided like, okay, we're gonna go to like her family has a really nice house out west, and so we're like, let's go there and let's just chill by the pool and let's let music come to us naturally. So we set up microphones and speakers and stuff in the living room, and then we just chilled. We ate, we drank, we watched horror movies, like we just did fun stuff, and then we'd be like, yo fam, I think I got a hook. Like I'm literally in the jacuzzi and I'm like, yo, I got this hook. And so same thing. Lex was swimming and she's like swimming in the pool and she pops out and she's like, I got a hook. And she starts singing Be Mine, it just came to her. You know what I mean? So how that kind of came about was super organic. It was like just ideas flowing through us in the environment that we were in. And so we recorded Be Mine out there and we brought it back, got it mixed and stuff like that, which was awesome. For Relax, collaborating with Hey Choppi was really interesting. Hey Choppi's one of Machel Montano's artists. He's with Machel's label Monk Music, and Choppi came out with a record a couple years ago called Captain, which was a really big soca record, and it was all through the circuits. If you like soca, you know the record. And so I really like that record. And then one day I'm just like chilling. I wake up in the morning to a DM from him, and he's just like, he followed me and DM me and said, yo, I love your music. And I'm just like, wow, like that's such an honor because like I'm obviously a fan of your music. Like you're like the Prince of Soca right now, so it's super dope. And he's like, yeah, we got to work on something. I'm like, oh, 100%. So a couple months went by and I'm listening to different beats and stuff, trying to work on some stuff for myself. But then this one particular beat came across my desk from Jay Shams, and I was like, bro, I need that. I have an idea. I know who I want to put on that. So I wrote the record and I came up with the hook and everything, and I did all that, and then I sent it to him, and then he did what he did and sent it back, and that's how Relax kind of came about. And I was always kind of like grateful for that opportunity just to work with him, because a lot of times we people are a little bit big for their bridges. You don't really see artists with that kind of following and that kind of momentum just kind of like reaching out to different artists like, yo, I want to work. Sometimes they're just too cool for school. So I always appreciate when an artist of any caliber is just like, yo, like you're dope, whatever. I don't really care about followers and stuff. There's artists who have like 20 followers, but their music is dope. I'll collaborate with you. I don't care. So I just appreciate him kind of recognizing that the sound was dope and wanting to work.
Yeah, and it's also like a good record for Caravana too, which is coming up too. So how do you feel about that whole situation coming up soon? With Caravana coming back.
Well, that was the idea. The kind of idea behind it was like, is Caravana weekend coming up? Let's just put out a record that kind of like encapsulates what Caravana feels like for us. And I'm Guyanese, so soca's in my blood. So for me, it was like collaborating with a soca artist and a hip hop artist on this record. It kind of speaks to the city. The city's a melting pot. So to have those two genres kind of hit like that, I thought it was a dope idea.
Most definitely. And nowadays too, like a lot of artists, like they don't really talk about like their studio process in that sense too. So for you, like what would a day in the studio be like for you in that sense?
For me, recording in the studio is kind of it's fun. I don't like people in the studio with me. That's one. Like if I'm in the studio, it just has to be me, my engineer, sometimes the producer. I'm cool with the producer being in the session. I usually like that so that he can or she can tweak the beats and whatever they need to do right then and there. If there's a feature, that's about it. And I just sit and I work. I'm really hands-on now with music. I know how I want things to sound. So if it's like I need to switch up the production a little bit, like I'm hands-on with that. If it's like, yo, I need to make some edits or anything like that, I want my vocals to sound like this. I went to school for audio engineering, so I can talk to an engineer in their language. It's very much an intimate process for me, because at the end of the day, when the record doesn't come out the way you want it, that's your fault. So I don't like distractions. People always have entourages in the studio. I can't stand that stuff. As no distractions.
No, most definitely. I mean, I had a previous interview with the members of Enlisted Negroes, which is T. Scott and Cajun, and they talked about the process of like not wanting like people like in the studio, because you kind of feel like more comfortable like being you in that sense, to even like communicating to, like just getting the process going in that sense. So
100%, 100%.
most definitely. And I know that you sort of talked about being in the studio for the first time too, with I think one of the artists that you mentioned. So how was it, being in that experience for the first time, and what was like that actual like experience like?
Um, for me, which artist depends.
I think I don't know if this was like this should be T minus, so like because that was like,
Oh, that was my first experience.
Yeah.
So T minus sent me to the studio. He gave me the connect, so I went, and it was Logic. Logic was the engineer of the session. Him and a guy named Champagne. They were engineering. But Logic was really hands on with me. Like he guided me through the process, because that's my first time like professionally recording. And I just remember him like guiding me through the process and giving me like pointers and just hyping me up. And I had my mom there with me, and like at that time I guess like other people were smoking in the studio, so I just remember my mom sitting through that with me. I was 14. So that experience was fun. It was interesting. But it made me fall in love. I love the vibe. I love the energy, and just to be able to walk away with a product, that to me, that propelled everything else that I did after that.
Most definitely. And I actually want to get into Hollywood Fresh right now, because I was actually like watching the music video like way like not way back then, just like earlier on today, and I kind of like, as we said, like we talked about the vibe and all that, like a lot of like unique 2010 vibe and all that, like during that time, you see like Mims in the background, you see some people dancing in the background, you see Dougie Fresh as well, like the sample being played and all that, some shots near the Apollo, Times Square, and just like throughout Harlem, and in that sense too. So tell me more about that music video and what that experience was like for you, and like just like shooting that music video in that sense, since it was your actual like first music video at the time.
Hollywood Fresh was an interesting experience. I was 16. That was my like first official single, and it was like a big budget video. So to be able to to jump into something like that so big, like we had to get permits from the city. We had police escorts. I had my own private chef. I had a Winnebago. I had my own stylist. I had gear picked out for me. That pink car, the pink Range Rover, that was Cameron's old car. Like, there's just so much history in that video from like a 16-year-old from Ajax at the time. And it was almost incomprehensible. Like, I couldn't understand this moment at that age. In that video, it took us 26 hours to shoot. We shot that in New York. Dougie Fresh invited us to shoot it at his house. So the brownstone that you see me in front of is his house. That's his studio we were in. And that's his backyard where him and I were in. And he was on his Segway. He was super excited to show me his Segway, which was really dope. So we were in his backyard on his Segway, which I thought was really cool. Having Mims in the video, that was him and my cousin know each other, and I just remember she called him and said, "Listen, my cousin's shooting a video in Harlem," and he's like, "I'm pulling up," and so he came, and he had to catch a flight to India in like an hour, but he stayed just to get his parts and like his cameos in with me, and I remember he sent his cousin with his bags, and he's like, "Go get my stuff checked in, like I'll be there," kind of thing. So I always appreciate that. Mims was always a good mentor. Anytime I needed anything or any advice, he was a great person to talk to. just I always appreciated that kind of connect there. But just to have like Mims dancing in my video, like just chilling with me, like that was cool because it was just a couple years after his hit single "This Is Why I'm Hot." You know what I mean? So people knew who he was buzzing all over. So it was great to have him there. Um, and then obviously just to have Dougie Fresh as a mentor at that time as well, and someone who kind of took me under his wing and just gave me the whole swag that I had. I just really appreciated it. What a lot of people don't know is Hank Shockley was there, and Hank Shockley's part of the Bomb Squad, one of the most legendary production groups of all time. So Hank was actually also there, and he took some pictures on the set. A lot of the pictures I posted from that set was Hank Shockley. So he was there. So him and Dougie Fresh kind of connecting and telling stories from back in the day was like iconic. Like I'm sitting in between two legends who I look up to and admire, telling stories, and just chilling with me at my video shoot. So that was comfortable. It was awesome. I had a great time, and the process, while tiring, was super rewarding. We shot a scene in the Empire State Building, and I remember when we were going in there, they were like, you can't film in here after 9/11. Like no one's allowed to film in here, and so one of the guys who was the director at Coogee at the time, rest in peace, Phil Payman, passed away last year. He had invited he invited us up to the Coogee headquarters, so he's like, you can shoot in here. And it was like, he's like, but no one has shot after 9/11. They shut that down. No one's allowed to shoot in here. But they let us take our camera up and shoot on the 66th floor of the Empire State Building. So that was great. I always see that, and like I always see that stat everywhere, like that kind of history lesson everywhere. And I was like, if we really were, that's like really cool. You know what I mean? Like, how do you ever know that? But like, that's what they told us. No one has ever shot here after 9/11. No one's allowed to shoot here. So that was like really, really cool to be able to do that inside the Married to the Mob headquarters, which was also on the 66th floor. Just so much little historic things happened at that video shoot, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah. And like in one of the scenes too, like from what I've noticed, like in Times Square, you were wearing like this like black dress at the time too, with like a pearl like necklace too. So it was kind of like an interesting experience, having the whole like swag fit, like with the snapbacks, with the Lettermans, and then having that like one scene like with dress and like the pearl like necklace and all that. So did you feel like it was like something that that was never really like in your vibe at that time too?
100%. My mom made me do that. Like that's my mom. Like my mom always had this thing where like, oh, you're such a tomboy, you're such a tomboy. You should make it a little more feminine. So I did that for her, but I didn't like that look. I didn't think it fit in the video. I'm like, this is such a random look to throw in the video. But because my mom wanted it, I was like, no problem, I'll do it. But that's all. It's as an adult, I dress differently now. I always dress. I wear a lot of dresses and sundresses and whatever now and heels, but I played basketball. Like that was my swag. I wanted hoodies and hats and sneakers. And it's still my swag to this day. But just I obviously, like I said, dressed it up a little more. But that was for my mom.